For millennia, the sands of Arabia have concealed stories of forgotten empires, of kings and prophets, and of a city said to have reached for the heavens before vanishing beneath the desertous endless dunes. That city is known as Iram of the Pillars, a name that echoes through legend, scripture, and song. To some, it was a real place. To others, it is myth. But to all, it stands as one of history's most haunting mysteries, the Atlantis of the Arabian desert. Our story begins in the sacred verses of the Quran, where Iram is described as a city of lofty pillars, the like of which was never built in the lands. It was home to the tribe of Ad, a powerful people blessed with abundance, who grew arrogant and defied their creator. For their pride, they were punished. A great wind swept through their land for 7 nights and 8 days, erasing their civilization from the earth. Only the sand remained. For centuries, the tale of Iram was treated as allegory, a spiritual warning. But whispers persisted. Nomads spoke of strange ruins deep in the Rub al Khali, the empty quarter, the largest sand desert on earth. They told of stone pillars jutting from dunes, of half-buried wells, and of a city that could appear like a mirage, only to vanish again. It was here, in the heart of this forbidding landscape, that some believed Iram once stood, a place of wealth and defiance, lost to both time and divine fury. In the early 20th century, Western explorers became fascinated by the story. Among them was Thomas Edward Lawrence, the famed Lawrence of Arabia. While studying ancient trade routes, he wrote of Arabian Atlantis, speculating that somewhere beneath the desert might lie a city swallowed by sand. Though he never found it, the idea caught the imagination of scholars and adventurers alike. To understand why Iram mattered, we must step back in time, long before its supposed fall. Southern Arabia, thousands of years ago, was a cradle of trade and civilization. The region was the heart of the frankincense route, where valuable resin was harvested from boswellia trees and transported north to the temples of Egypt, the palaces of Rome, and the altars of Mesopotamia. Frankincense was worth its weight in gold, and those who controlled its trade grew rich and powerful. Along the caravan trails that stretched from Oman and Yemen to the Levant, thriving cities rose, fortified hubs where traders rested, watered their camels, and exchanged goods. Archaeological evidence shows that many of these cities were built with tall, column towers, symbols of prosperity and pride. Could one of them have been the Iram described in the Quran? For generations, the question lingered unanswered. Then, in the late 1980s, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source: space technology. NASA's remote sensing satellites, equipped with ground-penetrating radar, were mapping the Arabian Peninsula when scientists noticed faint linear markings beneath the sand. These were the buried traces of ancient caravan routes, roads invisible to the naked eye. When researchers followed the intersecting lines, they found they all converged on a single location, a site in southern Oman known as Shiza. Intrigued, explorer Nicholas Clapp, working with archaeologists and NASA scientists, organized an expedition. What they found astonished the world. Beneath the surface of Shiza lay the remains of an ancient settlement, collapsed stone walls, towers, and deep underground chambers. Radiocarbon dating revealed that the site was thousands of years old, its peak corresponding roughly to the period associated with the tribe of Ad. Clapp's team declared they had discovered the legendary Ubar, another name that medieval Arab historians often used interchangeably with Iram. Headlines erupted across the globe. Newspapers hailed it as the Atlantis of the sands found. The mystery, it seemed, was solved, but as the dust of excitement settled, scholars began to question the claim. Excavation showed that Shiza was not a sprawling metropolis, but a fortified caravanserai, a desert outpost built to serve traders crossing the incense route. The supposed pillars of Iram were likely the bases of watchtowers or storage structures. The chambers beneath had collapsed when the limestone caverns below gave way, creating a sinkhole that may have inspired later tales of a city swallowed by the earth. Was Shiza truly Iram, or merely one fragment of a larger, older legend? Even skeptics, however, admitted that something about the site resonated deeply with the ancient story. Shiza stood at the crossroads of vital trade routes, controlling access to the frankincense-producing region of Dhofar. Its wealth, its sudden collapse, and the slow encroachment of sand over its ruins all fit the outlines of the legend. And perhaps that is the essence of Iram's allure, a tale born not from a single city, but from the collective memory of many lost ones. To the Bedouins, the desert is not empty, it is alive. The dunes shift like waves, revealing and hiding their treasures with each passing storm. In this landscape, history behaves like a mirage, flickering between presence and absence. Archaeological surveys across Oman and Yemen reveal traces of other ancient settlements now buried or eroded. Some show signs of advanced irrigation systems, stone temples, and high towers. These findings suggest that long before the desert became desolate, it was a lush, thriving region. Thousands of years ago, the Arabian Peninsula enjoyed a wetter climate. Rivers flowed where sand now reigns. Grasslands and wetlands stretched across what is today the Rub al Khali. Then, around 3000 BCE, the climate shifted dramatically. Rainfall ceased. The land dried. Civilizations that had flourished for centuries were suddenly abandoned. The people who survived carried their stories forward, transforming memory into myth. It is possible that Iram was one of these cities, real, once prosperous, then erased by drought and shifting sand. Over time, its fall was retold not as a climatic tragedy but as a divine reckoning. Ancient texts outside the Quran also speak of a city called Iram. In Arab oral traditions, its ruler, Shaddad ibn Ad, sought to build a paradise on earth greater than God's own. He adorned its streets with golden gems, its towers with marble, and its gardens with flowing rivers. When it was finished, Shaddad marched his people toward their creation. But before they could enter, a mighty wind descended from the heavens and obliterated them all. The story became a timeless warning against hubris, a desert echo of the Tower of Babel and Atlantis alike. Through the centuries, this legend spread from campfire tales to classical Arabic poetry and even to the 1001 Nights. Each retelling embellished Iram's grandeur until it became less a place and more an idea, the symbol of human pride consumed by nature's endless patience. And yet, despite its mythic overtones, the geography of these tales is strikingly specific. Nearly all accounts situate Iram somewhere between Oman and Yemen, along the ancient incense trails that connected the Arabian Sea to the Fertile Crescent. It is a narrow corridor of possibility, and one still yielding surprises. In the 21st century, new technologies have once again renewed the search. Advanced satellite imagery, drone mapping, and LiDAR scanning have begun revealing what was once invisible. Subsurface traces of walls, riverbeds, and caravan paths that date back over 5,000 years. Some of these intersect at locations still unexplored, hinting that other ruins, perhaps older and grander than Shiza, may yet lie beneath the dunes. Archaeologists have also found evidence of vast trade networks stretching deep into the desert, routes that carried not just incense but copper, gemstones, and spices. The merchants who navigated these paths relied on water wells and fortresses spaced a day's journey apart. One collapse could isolate a caravan for weeks, and an entire city lost to shifting sands might vanish without record. In this harsh environment, the desert erases what it does not forgive. Still, Iram refuses to fade completely. Every generation rediscovers it anew, in scripture, in exploration, and in imagination. For Muslims, it remains a moral parable of divine justice. For scientists, a puzzle of archaeology and climate. And for storytellers, an eternal symbol of humanity's struggle against time and nature. The Rub al Khali, stretching over 650,000 square kilometers, is a world unto itself, so vast that few have crossed it end to end. Its dunes rise like mountains, some taller than city skyscrapers. Temperatures can soar above 50 degrees Celsius. It is a landscape that swallows sound and distorts sight, where one can walk for hours and see nothing but sand and sky. To stand there is to feel both insignificant and timeless, surrounded by an ocean of gold that hides the bones of countless forgotten lives. From space, the desert looks deceptively still, but beneath its surface lie the buried channels of ancient rivers and lakes, evidence that once life thrived here. In those vanished oases, perhaps, stood the towers of Iram. Archaeologists studying these paleo channels have found stone tools, pottery fragments, and petroglyphs that mark the presence of people tens of thousands of years before written history. The deeper they dig, the more they find that Arabia's past is older and more complex than once imagined. Some scholars propose that Iram was not a single city at all, but a region, a confederation of early Arabian tribes who built fortified settlements across the desert's rim. Over centuries, memory condensed these places into one fabled metropolis, destroyed by a single catastrophe. That theory could explain the wide scattering of ruins all bearing similar architectural styles, tall columns, limestone blocks, and irrigation channels carved with precision. But perhaps the truth lies somewhere between myth and history. Legends often survive because they contain a seed of fact, a memory that endures long after the details fade. In the case of Iram, That seed may be the recollection of Arabia's lost green age, when cities thrived in the desert, only to vanish as the climate changed. To ancient storytellers, the transformation of paradise into wasteland demanded an explanation, and divine punishment was the only one they knew. Even today, the winds of the Rub al Khali occasionally uncover fragments of stone or pottery before burying them again. For a fleeting moment, the past surfaces, only to disappear once more, like the city of Iram itself, glimpsed and gone. When researchers excavated deeper beneath Shiza, they found that the settlement had been occupied and rebuilt repeatedly over thousands of years. Its final collapse likely occurred when a vast underground cavern gave way, swallowing the structures above. Such an event, viewed by survivors, could easily become the basis for tales of a city devoured by the earth. Nature's accidents often become history's legends. Today, the name Iram endures not as certainty, but as mystery. Whether it was Shiza, Ubar, or something still buried, it represents the meeting point of faith and science, memory and myth. It reminds us that beneath every legend lies a trace of truth, and that even the most desolate places were once alive with voices. The search continues. Archaeologists plan new expeditions, using drones to scan the desert's hidden layers, seeking what the wind may reveal. Each discovery, no matter how small, adds another piece to a story written in sand. And every time a fragment of wall or shard of pottery emerges, the question returns, is this Iram? Perhaps the answer no longer matters, because whether it was a city of stone or a city of story, Iram has already achieved what every civilization desires: endurance. Its people may be gone, its towers buried, but its legend remains, carried by the winds that sweep across the empty quarter. The desert, vast and unbroken, keeps its secrets well. Beneath its dunes lie the remnants of forgotten rivers, vanished roads, and perhaps the buried stones of Iram itself. Each expedition, each new scan of the sands, adds another piece to a puzzle that refuses to be completed. Maybe Iram was real. Maybe it was many cities woven into one enduring legend. Whatever the truth, the Arabian sands still guard their mysteries, silent, patient, and untouched by time.